Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inspitory. Today we have with us Jodi Woelkerling, and she is a stress resilient coach and consultant. She also does a lot of training. She is a keynote speaker, all related to stress and how to overcome stress related activities. So, stress has become a part of the modern society and modern workplaces. So, apart from your personal life, she is also specialized in how to create that work life balance just by thinking about how to mitigate and overcome the stress and be resilient to stress. So it's going to be very exciting for us to know more about what we can do to alter our own lifestyles. As individuals, there are strategies for minimizing stress and better equipping you to respond to stress when it occurs. As employers and managers, Jodi is the person who can help foster work environments where stress is minimized and where occurrences of stress are better managed. So she's going to give you tips and techniques and how we can um, alter some of our routine just to bring our life together and make it more calm, especially after the COVID and the pandemic. From various cultures that we come from, all of us have gotten to know more about mental health awareness. And I think Jodi would be the right person to go to now during this interview to talk about how we can think of stress and how it impacts our mental health. So, Jodi, I just wanted to ask you a few core questions related to stress and your own experiences, and then just to have fun, we'll start off with rapid fire rounds. With a few one word or one sentence answers. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely fine. Thank you so much for having me here, Reema.
Thank you, Jodi. So, uh, let's start off by just getting to know you a little bit and what are you doing at the moment in your life and how are you balancing it out, being a stress resilient coach and your personal life at the moment.
So the balance. So I'm working from home, as with a lot of people in the world.
Mhm.
Basically, me and my 16-year-old son share a
Mhm.
house together and our 4 cats. So that makes it for, as with me, as with a lot of people, that barrier between work and personal a little bit tricky. So you have to be quite conscious of it.
Mhm.
So my time is either spent doing stuff around my business, whether that's delivery, marketing, whatever's kind of required. And then personal, sort of my general personal stuff, like I do things like love walking,
Mhm.
meditating, all that sort of general stuff. And obviously having a teenager, spending a lot of time cooking and feeding my teenage son. So
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. What is your key message for women currently, especially after the COVID and now got to get back to work and manage kids and, pets and
yeah.
the entire home environment and the office colleagues. So what is your key message today for them?
For women. One thing I have noticed through the pandemic
Mhm.
situation is in a few different ways. It is a situation that has affected a lot of people, but what I see is often it's quite disproportionately been a little bit trickier for women. Now, one of the reasons for that is in most cases, not always, but in most cases, women are the primary carer of children.
Yeah.
So you've got a situation with a lot of women around the world who have been trying to do their professional jobs
Mhm.
from home at the same time as looking after kids who've been doing school from home, preschool kids who would otherwise be in some sort of care or with grandparents.
Yeah.
They're trying to basically do everything and be
Yeah.
everything to everybody, whether that's family wise, partner
Mhm.
wise, work wise. And even like I'm in Victoria, in Australia, and we've been out of lockdown now for a couple of months or more than a couple of months, but I'm
Mhm.
still seeing that situation brought about a lot of fatigue for women.
Yes.
So they're very, very tired and mentally drained. And it takes a long time of self-care to actually recover from that. And obviously in other parts of the world, that's still a major, major issue. So the biggest thing I see for women, especially if they're working from home, is to take care of themselves and to actually prioritize their own well-being. Yes, they have to do a job and take care of others, but they're also a priority. That's that old saying, I'm not sure if you've heard this saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
So if you're drained, you can't really give properly to others. You need to actually look after yourself first. So that's probably my key message to women at the moment, is really do what you need to do to get yourself in a, I don't know, a mentally and physically healthy kind of place. And you are a priority, and you need to be compassionate with yourself in that as well. Women quite often are quite hard on themselves, and they have guilt trips on themselves and all that sort of stuff. Self-compassion is a huge part of it as well.
Yeah, as you said, these are so common that you have to care for everyone, and women try by default are designed to tend to be caring, and sometimes we just do it for free. We don't put a tagline to whatever services we provide. We just come out and go and do it for the sake of others, no matter who they are. It's by design, and we forget about ourselves, our physical health, and yeah, it's so difficult to manage the balance. So I was just thinking, when I looked at your profile, you have done a lot of certifications. You're a certified trainer in Jack Canfield's Success Principles, certified health coach with Precure, and certified virtual life coach with Eben Pagan Training, certified practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, which is my favorite, NLP, with the Life Coaching College, and a qualified teacher, having completed a graduate diploma in education at Monash University, completed your diploma of business. The list just goes on. You've completed your Bachelor of Arts with Monash University, and you've completed 2-tier financial services accreditation for the Australian banking industry with Deakin Prime. So with all of these, so many certifications, it just gets to show that you constantly keep learning yourself, and you keep getting upgraded with the dynamics in the industry, because everyone comes with perceptions on how we kind of manage our own stress and strike a balance. So with all these formal studies and your interactions with various executives in the workplaces, what is the most rewarding thing that you do?
I love that question. Probably the most rewarding thing, group training's fantastic, and it's the chance to actually sort of provide value to a large group of people. But probably the most rewarding thing is the one-on-one coaching, because I'm working very specifically with that individual on their challenges and their goals. And that can be from their own personal stress and the stresses on their life. It can be from a leadership side of how to create a leadership culture. But that process of working with somebody one-on-one over a period of time, try things, see how they go, alter, try different techniques, all that sort of stuff. It's incredibly rewarding, because I'm actually in the position to make an enormous positive difference with that particular individual. As I said, group training's great, but the thing I absolutely love and find the most rewarding is the one-on-one coaching, definitely.
Sure. And where do we come to you? How do we reach out to you in case we want to have that professional mentoring? Because it's so good to have one person to talk to on a frequent basis and to keep seeing progress. I've had my own mentor, and in my career, it was so good for me to learn the Australian way of going for interviews and for finding the job, and to ensure that I keep progressing in the first 6 months of my work. So that has been really so helpful. So if people want that kind of support, how do they reach out to you, Jodi?
So there's a couple of different ways that they can. Email's probably the one that's sort of the quickest and easiest. So if they email info, I-N-F-O, at jodiwoelkerling.com, so just info at jodiwoelkerling.com, that's probably the easiest. I'm also very active on LinkedIn, so if they go into LinkedIn and they can message me through the back end part of LinkedIn is probably a really good
I think that's how that's how Jodi is a very approachable person. She always ensures that she responds to the email ID, and I will also put it up in the description. So Jodi has the rare combination of both a wide range of formal training and qualifications, as I mentioned just now, but a lot of practical experiences, real life management. She has her own story to share with operational and life coaching experience and techniques. In addition to her coaching, training, and consulting experience, Jodi has held various positions, including bank branch manager, business banker, center manager for a registered training organization, administration and finance manager, and was a teacher in adult education and quality assurance manager, which is also my background. So, So, what is the coolest thing, apart from the one-on-one mentoring, what is the coolest thing you have found about your passion, your career, and all your experiences?
Interesting. So I've spent most of my working life in the corporate environment. And that was a fantastic grounding. But probably the most rewarding thing is actually what I'm doing now. Because the reality is I was actually, most of that time I was in corporate, I was in responsible positions and was actually very affected by stress myself. So that's why I'm actually in the speciality that I am, because I was very affected by stress and it was affecting my life in all sorts of various not great ways. And I basically came to the conclusion of there has to be something better than this. This is affecting my quality of life. And that's when I started on this path. So probably the most rewarding thing is starting on that path and just working on my own development and then being in the position to be able to help other people who have that as a challenge. Either some people, it can be quite simple ways of managing it, and for other people there's sort of a more complicated undertone there, and I pretty much deal with the whole range. So that would have to be the most rewarding, is actually what I'm doing now.
And would you like to share what has been the most stressful example in your life?
Oh, that's a big question. It's funny. There were different situations that prompted larger stress issues. So, but as I said, it was an undertone with me for most of my career. So the things that kind of really pushed it over the edge were things like always been high achievement focused. So feeling where I was in a position where I wasn't, for whatever reason, able to actually achieve at a high level. So whether that was personally related, whether that was the work situation, whether that was unfair measurement, however it was, something where I didn't feel empowered to be able to perform at my best was probably the consistent trigger through the times where I felt the most stressed.
I think I'm able to relate to it, because in my work life, when my kids were young, they were when my daughter was just born, I think it's part of womanhood that we want to be perfect in whatever we do. So I was really passionate about my work. Definitely, there's no compromise on my skill set and my contribution, but striking that balance, when I'd go home, I would just manage my routine work. I would, pick my daughter up from daycare and just, cuddle her, give all the time. It was really a well-balanced routine, which I had set for myself. And the days when we had public holidays and all of that, I found it actually stressful, because if I had to do the same thing, like managing and taking care of household chores and my daughter at the same time, and doing that for the whole day, it kind of stressed me out, and I really wanted to get back to that routine of going to work and then evening balancing. And she knew mommy had to go to work. So the moment I would get ready, she knows that, she's happy that this is the way it is. It's normal. And then when I came back, I was all the time, happy, and we didn't have time to, complain or anything like that. But team and keep it as simple as possible and just have a good sleep was my way of overcoming stress.
Good for
So
you.
thank you. And if I'm doing something wrong, please let me know. Yeah.
Half of it is being aware that you're getting stressed and actually implementing strategies that work for you. So that's exactly what you did. You detected it in yourself and you worked out, okay, what do I need myself in order for this not to be an issue? And you put it into place. So perfect.
Oh, thank you. Feels so good. And fast fire questions would mean that you can answer these questions maybe in one word to maximum 2 sentences. But if you think that it would to elaborate a little bit, please go ahead. There's no hard and fast rule as such. So, where is your happy place?
Oh, I love that one. I live in an area that's got a fair bit of bushland around it.
Mm-hmm.
So probably walking through a very treed, quiet area is probably my happy place.
Okay, with the nature, the greenery, and just walking on through the bushes. That's good. What do you have fun with?
I'm a bit of a geek with this, I think. I love self-development as a geek. So basically getting those self-development kind of pearls of wisdom where something goes, that makes sense, and adopting it and that sort of stuff. Yeah, I am a geek. I get a lot of kick myself out of my own development and also kind of other people's development. I also, being a mum too, like kind of hanging out with my son and having fun with him. Yeah. I've also got 4 cats, so kind of hanging out with them and playing with them and cuddling them and stuff as well. So
Okay. And what is your scariest thing that you've done in life?
Scariest. It's funny. I think my mind automatically goes to the adrenaline type stuff, which when I was young, I did a fair bit of that, like skydiving and that sort of stuff. But to me, there's so many safety constraints on that. It's actually not. It feels dangerous, but it actually isn't, as long as they follow the safety precautions.
Yeah.
Probably the bravest thing is actually going out in business on my own, because that's actual risk. You're stepping out on your own and having that risk of this could fail, this could succeed. That's probably the biggest actual risk.
Yeah. Which you hear about every time you go into the business. Yeah. Okay. And if you were a superhero, what would your superpower be?
Oh. It's funny, I think I'd like to hear people's thoughts, but I'm not sure if I would, because that's the unfiltered thoughts.
So you want to read people's minds and have that superpower secretly?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't let them know that
the world would be a better place than with your coaching, and you could easily identify, okay, they're not telling me, but they're really stressed out, and here I am, I can do something for you. Okay, that's good. And what is the most unusual job that you've had?
Just thinking back through jobs. None of them have been that unusual.
Mm-hmm.
No, none of them have been real. They're all fairly stock standard, from my first job working in a gift store many moons ago through to, I don't think I've had anything that was that unusual.
Okay, that's good to know. So you landed in a job that you knew that you were qualified for, so that's really good. What are the three highlights of your life?
Two come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Becoming a parent, I think any parent would agree with that. Becoming a parent. I think, again, also stepping out into my own business on my own was a highlight. Actually, now I think it probably around the same thing is that time where I actually was working on myself and ended up really getting to the root of some of my biggest challenges that kind of manifested and showed themselves as stress, really getting to the root of that and the freedom feeling that comes from that. Because while those things are there, they affect your life in ways that we don't even realise. But if you actually get to them and acknowledge them and overcome them, the freedom feeling that comes with that's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what are the three words to describe you?
Persistent, resilient, actually, even though I deal with stress resilience, pretty much from almost anything I will battle through and come back regardless of what life kind of throws at me. So resilience, and that's not a threat or a request for things to get thrown at me. It's just kind of based on history.
Yeah.
Independent.
Yeah. You said that you are with your son and with the pet, so you're all the time caring and sharing knowledge with whatever you do. So I just wanted to. I was thinking the same when I asked you the question. You're so independent, by example. So that's, I think, independence is related to stress resilience also, isn't it? Because I remember in my life. There was this norm where we allow one of the grandparents to take care of the child so that we can go to work as mothers. Or if you have family, then the first thought that comes to mind is who's going to look after the child and can we kind of rotate between the family members. But then I learned it the hard way. Because as a young mother, my expectation wasn't met when my mom or my mother-in-law said we were very independent and that made us really good. So why don't you work out your ways and find another solution of keeping your baby and having the courage to keep your baby in the daycare, or maybe find out other alternatives. And that was the best suggestion given by my mother-in-law. That independence impacted my life so beautifully because my daughter became so independent as she grew up. And, as I told you, my routine became so good and I could do what I want. I could still go to work knowing that I'm in control of my own responsibilities and accountabilities. So I wasn't as stressed as mothers who actually stayed back at home to take care of the child and had to give up jobs and all of those things. So thanks to my the women around me when I became a mother myself, thanks to my mother-in-law and my mom who shared that independence was the key. So today when I look back, I really feel that independence is one of the best things for stress resilience. Isn't it?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic story, what you're saying in terms of your daughter. I would add also that the independence also applies emotionally as well, because if you emotionally are responsible for yourself, you're not looking for somebody else to make you feel okay. That is a very empowering position. So if you're always looking for somebody to give you the love and affection for you to feel okay about yourself, that's putting reliance on somebody else. Whereas if you're independent emotionally in yourself, yes, stuff happens, but you know that regardless, you'll be okay.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's kind of the mental side, and also like you said with your daughter, the physical side as well, which is a fantastic example.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Jodi. So, who inspires you and why?
Some of the great leaders in history really inspire me. Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela come to mind. People who have, and somebody like Gandhi, people who have often gone through really, really hard things themselves, but they're basically people who kept a pure heart and did an enormous amount of good.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's your secret talent, Jodi?
Oh, secret talent. I have a very neglected cello that I used to be very much into playing the cello, but it's very neglected these days. Yeah, that's probably
Your secret talent. That's good to know. It's no more a secret now. And what do you want to tell other women in their lives? I know you've touched about it in the beginning of the interview, but now with all of these personal questions that I asked you, anything else you'd like to tell?
A lot of women have an inner self-doubt. So they have an inner, it can take different forms, and this isn't everyone by any means, but a self-doubt about either their lovability, their capability, they're doing stuff well enough. In all sorts of ways it manifests, but a lot of women really don't feel good enough in themselves. And this applies to a lot of men as well. Men just show it in a different way. My main message to women is, yes, you are good enough. You are good enough, you're beautiful, you're lovable, you're capable, just the way you are. And if you think of, just at the risk of sounding corny, you're where you are now and you've got through everything that your life has thrown at you now, that alone, without anything else, says that you are a survivor and you are more capable than you probably ever give yourself credit for. So that self-belief, I think, is probably the key message for most women, because most women really do struggle with it at their core.
Yeah, that's an eye-opener actually for me too. I didn't think that way, so it's good that you did mention. I like the way you said we are survivors, because every woman has a story. Definitely, every person has a story, but I see that there are more struggles with striking a balance in everything that we do as women. So thank you for that. And if you have to snap your fingers and become an expert in something now, what would that be?
Probably the ins and outs of human behaviour. I think I've got a reasonable knowledge, but there's always a lot more to learn. Yeah. So really understanding the ins and outs of human behaviour and how to help people to become resilient and to become empowered to create however they want to create their life.
Yeah. So one last question. What is the best piece of advice you received in your life, and who and what was it, and who it came from?
Probably my biggest teachings that I learnt were, you mentioned early on about the Jack Canfield course that I'm qualified in teaching. A lot of the biggest learnings in myself were through things that he teaches in his principles, and he covers a huge range of things. So things like believe in yourself, things like go through a process of actually knowing what you want and working towards it, rather than just letting life kind of drift around. So you're actually orchestrating and directing your life, rather than just becoming somebody going along with the flow of the way life teaches you. They're probably the biggest learnings is the stuff from Jack Canfield, and I've kind of gone beyond that now, but that was really one of the biggest foundation parts for me.
Yeah. So with this, we end all of the rapid fire rounds. I think you did very good.
Thank
And
you.
I think there was a lot of learning, just by connecting with you about, in general, our thinking as women, especially. Also, for all of us who are listening to you today, about how we think about stress, just the mindset that we have about stress and being resilient and how we can balance it. So definitely, I think with the gist of this interview, people will want to reach out to you. So I hope that happens and everyone is benefited. So please continue to do the great work that you've been doing and inspiring others. So thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I do very much appreciate you inviting me on and asking such wonderful questions, and absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jodi. I'll see